Hello
Cool
everyone.
music.
Hello, hello. I was really getting into that groove.
Yeah.
Right? Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. I see some people are joining just now. Welcome to Wire Sessions. This is a series that we started that's all about content. So today we're going to be talking about shooting content that sells. We're going to be diving into what to shoot, how to shoot, what kind of trends to follow, basically all you need to know to rake in those sales. And today I am joined by Eric, my colleague, and from Adobe we have Matt Hayward. Eric, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. I'm Eric, head of content at Wirestock. What I do is handle all things related to content. I have a team of awesome curators and reviewers that ensure highest quality content that we send to agencies, to all the marketplaces that we work with. And yeah, that's me. And thanks for joining. Welcome to our first ever live stream. It's really exciting to be here. I'm kind of nervous, to be honest, but I hope this goes well. Yeah.
Oh man, if you're nervous and I'm getting nervous, and then oh man. So I'm Matt Hayward, as you mentioned, Sona. So thank you so much for having me out. I work at Adobe. I'm my official title is the Senior Adobe Stock Artist Evangelist, which is a lot. Basically, what that means is I just talk all day, every day. But what I love about it is that I talk to creatives. And as a photographer myself, I've been a stock contributor since around 2006. It's just truly in my DNA. I'm passionate about it. And I love teaching. I love meeting. I love learning. I love everything there is about stock and stock photographers in particular. And super excited to be here for this Wire session. We're really proud to be partnered up with Wirestock, and some of the most talented creatives in the world are submitting to your platform. And so I'm really honored to be here. Thanks for having me.
Cool.
Thank you. And I'm Sona. I'm the artist relations lead at Wirestock. And before we start, I just wanted to quickly go over what we're going to be doing today. Basically, what we started these series to further connect with our amazing community. And today we're, as I said, going to be talking about content that sells. Eric and Matt have been kind enough to make some slides for us, so they're going to go over them and share their insights. And then we'll move on to the more free form discussion portion where we just talk freely. And then when it's about like 20 minutes left, we're going to move on to the Q&A portion. We have compiled a list of questions from our community, and we're going to be answering them at the end of the stream. So I think we can start with Eric's slides. Just give me 1 second. There we go.
Sure. Okay, so I wanted to start with a brief history of Wirestock and what's our mission is. So we started about 3 years ago with a simple mission to make creators' lives more easier, to help them monetize their content faster, easier. And the way Wirestock works is basically we help them to distribute, showcase, and license their content on larger stock content marketplaces and creative platforms. So the way Wirestock works is providing one-door access to all those major stock content marketplaces in the world, like Adobe Stock, Shutterstock, Get Images, and other creative platforms. So, as a creator, you won't have to manage multiple accounts on multiple marketplaces. You just have to create one account on Wirestock.io, and then you'll be able to start selling on all of those agencies. You will also get your personal portfolio on Wirestock, where you can see your basic earnings, your downloads, some basic stats. You can add a short bio about yourself, some social links. You can also sell directly from your portfolio and with zero commission. So when you sell stuff from your own portfolio, when, for example, people like what they see on your portfolio and they buy it, you get the full price for your content. We don't keep commission for that. So Yeah, we also have a mobile app which is available for iOS and Android. You can track your you know track your downloads and earnings there, and yeah, upload from your mobile device as well. I mean, we see some spike in sales with of mobile content, like vertical stuff sells pretty well. I mean, if you have a good eye. And yeah, we also have a dashboard where you can track all your sales from all of the sources, individual sales, individual keywords that sell for you, individual, videos. You can focus more on that style if you see that certain type of video is doing well. Yeah, and for people that are already selling on Wirestock, this might be a surprise for them because this dashboard is actually is going to be next step in our updates. So this is kind of a sneak peek. So it's
Ah,
coming. Yeah, it's coming. It's going to be live. I don't know, soon. I guess I'm not quite sure, but yeah, you'll be able to track all of your earnings from just one place. It's fairly easy to use. I mean, not too complicated. So yeah, not too difficult. Anyway, yeah, I want to talk about our easy submission feature, which is I think a huge game changer for us. I mean, what we do is basically take care of all your keywords, to take care of all your metadata, like writing captions, picking the right categories, writing generating the right keywords. So we make your content more discoverable on agencies. And make it easier for clients to find on agencies. But we do ask our creators to give us some additional information. If you shoot some interesting locations that are not too famous for certain viewers, we ask you to provide some information so we can be more accurate in our metadata entry. This applies to commercial and editorial submissions. So yeah, always make sure to give us some information about it. uh, yeah, and that's it. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about our best sellers on stock agencies. I mean, especially on Adobe, since we are joined by Adobe representatives. So yeah, so here is our top five most downloaded images on Adobe. And the first one is by Ben White, which is one of my favorite creators, and he shoots really like seasonal content. He shoots some really lifestyle imagery, and this one is performing really well. I mean, it's some pine trees and pine tree branches with pine cones with copy space above, so it's a huge deal for designers and social media marketing specialists. Yeah, to get those kind of images. And aesthetic cloudscapes sell very well. I mean, there's an abundance of those on agencies, but if you can make it unique and like stand out from the other cloudscapes, you can make quite some earnings with this kind of stuff. So yeah, aesthetic modern interiors, and maybe it's not modern, maybe it's vintage, also sell very well. I mean, if you get a good shot, and like it shows the whole living space, it sells very well. I mean, I don't know the usability of those. Maybe they're like for interior design magazines, or maybe it's for reference for interior
home
designers that
improvement.
do 3D home improvement stuff. Yeah, that kind of thing. So yeah, our fourth place goes to this vibrant kind of abstract backgrounds. They can be used for backgrounds, maybe wallpapers, maybe designers can change up a bit the colors and play with the hue, to give it another look. But yeah, those are performing very well. And the fifth place is some kind of peaceful, tranquil locations, also sell very well, especially when you include the location. I think this is in the Baltic Sea or something. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, those are selling very well, especially if it's a vertical. You give it enough space to, add some text to it, maybe above. And yeah, I want to talk about bestsellers. Sorry, I'm gonna take a sip. Yeah, so lifestyle activities sell very well. I mean, but you have to make sure to capture your models in the moment, because if it's too posed, people are not going to buy it, because they want to see like authentic stuff. They want to find a skater person, and if this guy wasn't a skater, I mean, it would be obvious and they wouldn't buy it, I think. So yeah, try to catch them in the moment. I mean, if it's a carpenter, try to get them doing some carpentry, in their natural environment. So yeah. Next is drone photography footage. I mean, this is always a bestseller on our side. If it's a vertical, if it's a landscape orientation, doesn't really matter, as long as it's high octane. Maybe it's a slow motion, maybe it's a time lapse. Maybe you can get some shots, circling around some famous locations, that kind of thing. So
DJI just announced a new drone today, like a Mavic 3 Classic. Looks amazing.
mhm.
I love flying drones for stock content. It's so fun. Sorry to
I've been
interrupt.
thinking about, yeah, no, it's fine. I've been thinking about getting a drone myself. I'm really interested on maybe I want to try myself flying it and see how it goes.
It's a
I'm really into
blast, and it
drones.
does
Yeah,
sell. It sells well. Yeah, I mean, it's sell, especially good video. Anyway, I'll go into that, but I don't mean to distract from you here, Eric. I just wanted to call that out because I've been getting email alerts and Slack messages. Wow, did you see the new Mavic 3
yeah,
Classic drone? Like, oh
yeah.
yes, I did. Like, take my money, please. Here you go. I can't
A lot
resist.
of people, yeah, in our community as well, they get a new drone. They immediately start DMing me in our community, like, what kind of shots should I get? Should I get a time lapse? Should I get a slow motion? Yeah.
Those
So
are
yeah,
great questions to
good.
ask, right? They should be reaching
Mm.
out to you. What do you guys want and need? You have so many different marketplaces you're
Yeah,
reaching.
I'm always open to discuss yeah, give some advice. I see so much content on daily basis. I mean, I can give solid advices sometimes. So yeah, if anyone's watching, we're thinking about what to shoot, you can always reach out to me via my email or maybe just on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, vectors. I mean, I'm not too much into vectors, meaning I don't create them myself, but I know for sure that this kinds of banner templates, or icon packs sell really well, especially on Adobe. If you have a certain style, maybe it's a vintage style, maybe it's a post Soviet Union style or something like that. Maybe it's something related to certain topics that are happening in the world, or maybe it's a super futuristic, like hyper sci-fi futuristic kind of things. It's always good to see those, but please try to keep them like consistent. If you create an icon pack, for example, for related to Christmas, don't include pumpkins in it. Don't include anything related to Halloween or Easter. So yeah, keep it consistent and upload in packs. Yeah, don't upload them separately. So yeah, that's my advice
It's good
related to
advice.
vectors. Yeah. Okay. Animals, wildlife. I mean, these are my favorite shots, to be honest, especially when you get a long lens and you can get some really good shots with this. But birds aren't very passive creatures. They always fly around. You have to capture them. You have to have a good eye for birds to actually capture them in their moment. Doing something interesting, maybe making a mating call, that kind of thing. It's always interesting to see them in their natural habitat, but also seeing them in some weird situations, or maybe doing something interesting. Like, I don't know, those are really cool. I mean, you can, if you have a obedient dog that actually listens to, or a cat, you can always dress them up.
Those
I mean,
exist. Obedient
yeah.
dog. I have a 1-year-old golden retriever,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, I don't. I'm at this point in my life. I'm like, man, is an obedient dog actually a thing? I don't know. Anyway,
I
go
don't
on.
think so either. The beagle never
He's a little
listens to
terror.
me.
He's probably
Yeah, we
destroying
can.
something in my house as we speak.
Well, I always wanted to get a dog, or I tried getting a cat, but it wasn't a good experience for me. It wasn't like listening to me at all.
I,
I named him Arnold, but he wasn't like listening to me at all. So he just was an outside cat, I guess. So I just let him
hmm.
out, and then he lives peacefully outdoors. So that's
Can
good,
I
I
can I
guess.
just say one thing about birds too? Just a
Yeah.
story that really doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I traveled to East Africa by myself and
Mm.
like went camping out there, and I was like convinced that it's going to be all about the big five, the lions and the rhinos. I'm going to
Yeah.
want to shoot the big predators and stuff. Well, my guide was an bird expert, and I ended up spending 2 weeks traveling around the country of Tanzania just finding these amazing birds and got this content that I loved. And in my whole life, I never really even thought about bird photography, but just speaking to what you're saying about the challenges and the uniqueness and stuff, it's
Mm,
very gratifying to get a really good, sharp, interesting photo of a bird. So
mm,
I digress. I
yeah.
don't mean to keep interrupting here, Eric, but
Yeah, no, I was gonna say if you go to a really cool location that really like in Africa, for example, there are a lot of exotic birds, so you can get cool shots of exotic birds doing something really cool that not a lot of people see, maybe on Discovery Channel or something. So yeah, try to
yeah,
get some exotic shots as well. Yeah. Anyway, seasonal photography and footage. I mean, this is always huge uh, a huge opportunity to get some sales. I mean, but you have to get your shots prior to the some holiday. You know, for example, if you're doing some Halloween shots, try to upload them. You know, in August, because it takes some time for the agency for the images and videos to get processed by us, and then get some traction on agencies. And also, those designers and social media marketing specialists, they like to get their stuff beforehand and get their designs ready for the actual events that they are planning. So always make sure to plan your shots beforehand and upload them beforehand. Like if you're planning to do some Christmas shots, I mean, you should be uploading them right now, or
yeah,
maybe a month earlier. So yeah.
yeah. I've been seeing Christmas
Yeah.
sales for the
Mhm.
last 6 weeks, really. I would say 2 to 3 months in advance of the event. So like we just had Halloween, was that 2 days ago? And so if you took a
Yeah.
bunch of pictures for Halloween on Halloween, you should not be uploading those right now because nobody's buying Halloween pictures right now. So you put that in a folder,
Yeah.
you set a calendar reminder, and then next summer you upload that a couple of months in advance, and you'll be doing yourself a pretty good favor.
Yeah, but there's a chance that it will get outdated, because trends change so quickly these days. So
Sure.
maybe content you shot this year may be outdated next year. So yeah,
Very true.
there's a risk of that. So yeah, be mindful. Okay, yeah, illustrative editorial content. This is a huge market. There's a huge market for illustrative editorial content, especially if you're specialized in product shots. Always try to get them. Get some good lighting. Make sure your product is well exposed, and try to show the usability of those. If you're for example, if you know a friend or you yourself like using some kind of product or maybe some sporting gear or outfit, it's always a good idea to get some good lights and get some good background, and yeah, try to get some cool shots. Maybe brand itself will buy it and use it in their own social media posts or something. Matt, do you have any advice on this? I mean,
Yeah, just be creative. Think like kind of assign be your own assignment editor, if you will. Like if you're
uh,
shooting Nike shoes and socks, for example, just basically imagine that you are shooting that Nike is your client, and would you the content that you're capturing,
exactly, yeah.
shoot in favor of the brand that is that's flattering, complimentary, and that can be used in editorial articles, and so it's a non-commercial use. So the more time and setup you put into it, the more chances you have for success, because like you said, there's a big market for this type of content. The
Mm,
Coca-Cola can in the
yeah.
ice, like the dewdrops coming off of it, that sort of thing. That's
Yeah, you
not
can
as
always sprinkle in some water drops. Yeah, make it look more better, more cooler. Yeah,
Mhm.
right. Okay. And next is vibrant and interesting backgrounds. I mean, when I say a background, I mean, I imagine, just a plain brick wall or something like that. It doesn't have to be always that, you can be thematic in your backgrounds. I mean, you can think of usage of it. So for example, this five string, I think this is a acoustic bass guitar. Anyway, so I'm really into guitars. Anyway, yeah, so you can think on the buyer side, maybe this person have a podcast related to music or musical news, something like that. So you can always get this cool blurred shots, or maybe something that will be a cool background for a musical podcast, or maybe music related thing. It doesn't always have to be a plain gradient background, or maybe a brick wall background. Yeah. And the next one is aesthetic interiors. Yeah, like you saw before, one of our best sellers is an interior shot. Actually, Matt, do you notice anything weird about this shot? when you look at it. I mean, I don't know how well you can see it, but
Weird about it?
weird or maybe something different.
Well, it looks like you've got a city view out of the window,
Mhm.
something different. Looks like it was shot with a wide angle lens. Weird or something different. I'm missing it. I'm sorry.
I can't zoom
Yeah,
in.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I wouldn't be able to notice it either. No, none of us would be able to be honest, because it's actually not a shot at all. It's completely made in Blender. It's a 3D rendering. So
Oh,
these kinds of 3D renders always sell the best. I mean, I have no idea how they make this, how much free time they have. These guys are crazy. I mean, nothing here has a photo component. It's all fully digital, even the cityscape in the window.
ah.
So yeah, these kinds of perfect, interiors. Maybe it shouldn't be I mean, if you're creating something else, for example, I don't know, a podium, maybe some 2D animation of a futuristic thing, or an astronaut walking on the moon or other planet. Yeah, those are always bestsellers on Wirestock. So and we always love to see it. But if you're making hyper realistic things like this, please always make sure to let us know in the additional information, because it's hard for us to notice, this kind of things. If it looks hyper realistic, we might just write, we might just describe it as a photo, and it won't sell as if it was a 3D render.
We'd require a property release for that too, since it looks so
Yeah,
real. And so at that point,
of
you would
course.
have to
Yeah,
just put
we
3D
would
render.
want a reference. Yeah, we would want a reference. We would want to see what kind of software was used. So yeah, and yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this wasn't too boring. And yeah,
It's
thank you.
never boring talking about stock, right?
I
Telling
could
you.
I could be, yeah, talking about this for hours, but higher ups, they won't let me. So yeah,
Ah, I hear
okay.
you. Yeah, good stuff. That's interesting to
Thank you,
see.
Eric.
Mhm.
Okay, so I guess we can get started with math slides as well,
Sure,
just so we
why
have more
not?
to discuss
I'm super
later.
excited.
I'll fly through these pretty quick so that we can get to the questions that you've got. Very important. My Instagram handle right there, Matt Hayward Photo with just one T. Shameless plug. And so at Adobe Stock, you said we're a global marketplace. We're reaching millions of Adobe customers around the world. I think most of the people watching this right now, or at least familiar with the brand Adobe. Most creatives that I know are using Adobe software in one form or another, whether it be Photoshop or Lightroom or PDF file, whatever, however you're using Adobe. We've got, if you think about the majority of creatives on planet Earth, that's the customer base for Adobe Stock. That's where the content is getting in front of. And so we sell quite a few different asset types. I can talk about just some of the most popular ones, photos being the number one most popular asset type that we sell, and
Mhm.
everybody's allowed to submit those. We accept them in JPEG format. The minimum file size just 4 megapixels, which any camera made in the last ever, really, since digital, is
Mhm.
capable of producing a camera or a file that size. You want to submit the maximum file size your camera can produce, and I'll talk a little bit more about why that is in just a moment. But photos, the subject, I mean, again, you think about that global marketplace, it's a very diverse group of people buying stock content. So that's an equally diverse need for content types. And so whatever you love to shoot, whatever is available to you, there's probably going to be a marketplace for that. And so that's what you really want to be doing. But you want dynamic content that grabs the attention of the viewer. We've got millions of files that people are looking through. And so just kind of like when you're going through your Instagram feed, if you're like me, you can just be kind of mindlessly scrolling through, and then every now and then something boom catches your eye and you stop
Yeah.
and you click on it, like, who made that? What is this? That's what you kind of, what I shoot for anyway, no pun intended, as a stock contributor. I want content that's going to grab people's attention. And by doing that, I want photos that pop. I don't want them to look unrealistic or over processed or anything like that. I
Mhm.
just want to catch the attention of the viewer. So photos. Number one, video files. Video clips are extraordinarily popular, and they're growing in popularity on a daily basis. And so we're looking for clips that are just 5 seconds to 60 seconds long. That's the range. No audio is required usually, unless there's ambient sound like birds chirping or water rushing through the water with no voices or anything. If it enhances the video, that's okay. But otherwise, no audio. Here's a horizontal video. Eric, I think you mentioned Vertical, in a little while ago, we're actively seeking vertical video. That's high in demand, especially for social outlets and whatnot. So
Yeah.
vertical video is something, if you're capable of producing, I recommend you do so. I recommend that you create a diverse set of content with each shoot that you do. Shoot photos, shoot video, and shoot different compositions. Shoot wide, shoot tight, shoot left, shoot right, shoot up, shoot down, whatever it is. But then, so that counts for video too. Shooting slow motion, shooting time lapse or whatever, but then flipping the composition of the camera. And then vectors and illustrations. Eric, you talked about that a little bit. And so for vector files, we take EPS, AI, or SVG vectors. Illustrations would be in JPEG format. And so I didn't add a slide for this, but we're also taking PNG files with transparent backgrounds. I'm not sure if Wirestock, are you guys supporting those at this
Currently,
point?
we don't, but we are planning to support SVGs and PNGs, all kinds of formats. Yeah, it's EPS 8 or 10.
PNG. Yep, it's brand new. Yep, so it's something to think about. And so I'm just going to go over a couple of things. Like I mentioned, I've been a stock contributor myself, coming up on a couple of decades now, and I've made more mistakes than I care to admit along the way. And so, through that process, I've learned what does work for me. And then also, since I've been working in Adobe Stock the last 7 years, I've gotten some really good insight into what customers are actually looking for and whatnot. And so copy space, it's not a coincidence, I don't think, that #1 best-selling file that you had showed a lot of copy space too. I wrote that it was Ben White's image was #1, and there's copy space up there. And so this little thing up on the left, that's actually a filter that's in the Adobe Stock search engine. It's such a requested thing from customers. We put a filter in for search where Adobe Sensei is the artificial intelligence built within Adobe applications. It'll recognize images that have copy space, and with a customer search, it clicks this filter, it's going to only show those files that do have copy space.
Sorry, man, does it work based on the keywords? I mean,
nope. It's looking at the content itself and recognizing it. You can add a keyword if a customer searches with a keyword and not the filter, but you don't have to add a keyword in order for this filter to work. It's just
very cool.
The image. Yeah, it's pretty slick. And so this is very usable content. You think about the end use case. The designer can just easily add text overlay here. Like here, I just add, just wrote emphasize space for copy on there, and that worked just fine. Simple, easy peasy, right? Size matters. You want to submit, I already mentioned this once, but you want to submit the maximum file size that your camera is capable of producing. And the reason for this at Adobe Stock specifically is that customers can type in the minimum file size they're willing to accept. And it could just be an arbitrary random number that they put in, even if they're just doing a blog post. Maybe they just read somewhere that they should only buy images that are 3,000 pixels on the long side or whatever, right? And so if you do something 2,400 pixels across, it's not going to show up in search if they're using this filter. So submit the maximum file size your camera can produce. Don't unnaturally up-res your files, but do submit the maximum. And Eric, you already talked about this, is seeking alternate angles, and I mentioned it too, shooting left, shooting right. Get your drone up in the air. There's a big market for that, still images and videos. I find the best drone footage that sells actually does incorporate people. I shoot a lot of lifestyle content, and that's what works best for me. And so when you're able to do that, we have a lot of drone footage and imagery of landscapes and so on, and it does sell, but there's a massive amount of it out there already. And so know that the competition is really fierce, and so it's a little bit tough.
You have to be unique, with the shots, but
gotta be unique.
Get yourself a drone.
Get a drone, yeah, man. Tell a story with your stock. Like, don't just do a snapshot or a portrait. Like, get in and get to know your subjects, whether it be your family or friends, people you know, or if you're hiring models. Like, be in real situations. That's my next slide. Keep it real. Customers are looking for it's a cliche word, it's a buzzword, it's been overused for years, but it's the only word it is. But authenticity, I'm sorry to say it, but there's no other word for it. Like, people are looking for authenticity in their content. Real people in real locations doing real things with real expressions. That is going to set your content above the rest. Like, gone are the days, back when Microstock first started, like, you could put up an isolated white background, you get two white businessmen shaking hands or wearing suits.
It really makes me nauseous looking at those, with perfect white teeth, and they just very happy, like a businessman in a business suit. That's what a CEO
the
looks
women
like.
with the salad.
Yes, been there, done that, sold the movie rights, right? Like that's we've moved on to the next era, and realism, real people, real situations, accurately representing the diverse world that we live in. So diversity is the number one thing that we hear customers want more of. They want more diverse, representative, inclusive content. And so what does diversity mean to you? That's what you should be capturing. It means something different to everyone. It's not just about ethnicity. It's not just about age. It's not just about sexual orientation or whatever. Like, we live in an amazing world filled with amazing people, and we should accurately represent them in stock to the best that we're able to do that. It's our responsibility as stock photographers, videographers, illustrators to do so. And by doing so, you are giving yourself a huge advantage when it comes to potential for sales, because this is the number one thing that customers are asking for and have been for some time and continue to ask on a daily basis. Not one day goes by in my work when this isn't brought up. So just a heads up on that. And then when you're doing shoots, like, don't just focus on what's in front of your camera. Like, look at the whole thing. I make a lot of money selling pictures of people. Like this shot in the upper right corner, my wife and I went up to go bald eagle watching, speaking of bird photography, right? Went up to go looking at eagles in Washington State. I set up a tripod. My wife's not a photographer, but I made her get behind the camera so I could take a picture of her being a photographer. Now that reaches camera stores for potential customers, or photography clubs, or whatever, right? And so I did a live stream with a green screen in the background, and then I shot a video doing that, and that sells for me every now and then. I don't always hire hair and makeup stylists for my shoots, but when I do, I take a picture of that process taking place, right? And so that kind of stuff is gold as far as I'm concerned. I'm always looking for stock opportunities. I don't remember where I was driving, but I saw this sign and thought, wow, that's pretty specific to me. Turns out they were talking about watch out for cows, because we almost hit right after. But just stock is everywhere. Look for it, and you get motivation and ideas. And so that leads to my next piece of advice, is to have a plan. It's okay to just upload the content that you capture just organically on your day-to-day basis. And I do that all the time. And sometimes, you get lucky and you get a bestseller. But usually, if I'm strategic about what it is I'm capturing, I write out a shot list and I get organized and formalized, I get a lot more useful sellable content, especially when I'm investing money in my shoots, hiring models, or paying for a location, or both. I want to maximize the return on my investment in time and money. And the way to do that is to stay organized. I don't always, I'm not militant about sticking with the list. Like, oh, next we have to do this shot. Like, there's a flow. And you go with that. But often you kind of find a pause, like, oh man, what's next? Well, then you can refer to this shot list. And so in our Discord community, we have a really active community of stock contributors in Discord. And one of our members, Sheila, she shared this like image of her desk. Like, she writes down ideas as she gets them. And I think it's such a good idea. I've got a notebook right here, like ideas come to me and I write them down, and then I'll, try to incorporate that as I'm doing it. But when you just be organized however you are and have a plan. Real quick, I know I'm fighting the clock here, but
No worries.
intellectual property is something we want to watch out for. Like you showed that illustrative editorial image of Nike shoes. Well, here in this image, if you look, Nike shoes, not a good thing, because I was doing a commercial shoot. And so for commercial licensing, you cannot have branded elements like trademark logos, anything like that. And so I did this shoot. I had this model cover up the Nike logo while, on the foot that she's stretching with. So that took care of that. But then that's the problem. That's a 1 second clone or whatever. And then also there's this tiny little logo on her hip. I'm not familiar with the brand, but that's a deal breaker. That's your image will be rejected for an intellectual property violation if you submit it like that. And so I cropped out her foot. I mean, I could have cloned out the logo, no problem. And then I just cloned out that little logo, and easy peasy. That's a successful stock image for me as well. And so if you're just getting started, if you're watching this and you haven't submitted stock content before, I'm asked this all the time, like, what should I shoot? Well, my question is always, what do you like to shoot? What do you love to shoot? What do you love? What are you passionate about? That's what you should do. Because if you're into birds, like you talked about, Eric, like if you're into birds, you're going to be a better bird photographer than I am. Like, I had a great time shooting them, but I didn't know anything about them at the time, right? I love fishing. I'm crazy about salmon fishing in the Northwest, going to Alaska or whatever. So I shoot a lot of pictures of dead salmon. Believe it or not, those sell. And I'm not telling you that because I want you to go out and shoot a bunch of pictures of dead salmon, because that's my market. Okay, you got to find what it is that you love. What do you like to do? Pick up your
We have a
camera.
photographer that specializes in fungi. He shoots mushrooms, all kinds of, and he actually knows the Latin names of those. And I feel like if I keep reading those Latin names, I'm gonna summon some evil spirits. So I'm really interested
That's
in that kind of stuff. So yeah,
it's
when
great
we
keywording though, to put the
exactly.
scientific name of
Mhm.
the fungi, animals, all that. If you know it and accurate, like people are searching for that, and so that's a good idea. So I think that's my last slide. You can cut out of this page if you want to, Sona, and we can dive into the questions that you've got lined up, if that's cool with you.
Sure thing. Thank you. Thank you for the slides.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, I mean, it's our discussion portion right now, but I feel like we've been pretty like free form this whole time. Is there anything that you guys would like to talk about before we move on to the question portion of this?
Well, not really. I mean, we were discussing along the way, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Unless Matt has something.
Unless Matt has something.
Always got something to say, but let's see where the questions lead us, and then if something gets omitted and we've got time, then we can dive into that after. So
okay,
that's a good plan.
So our first question from one of our creators, I think this is more for Matt. It says, what is your favorite topic or content to shoot, and does it sell well for you?
Well, you know what I should do is bring up my, I didn't even think about this. Maybe I can bring up my portfolio. What do you think? Is that cool?
Of course.
We didn't talk about that, but
Awesome.
Go ahead. Can you see my screen?
I can share it. One second.
That's cool. So my Adobe Stock portfolio is, I've been shooting, like I said, for about, I don't know, what is that, 2006 to now is, a while, right? And so a long time. And so my portfolio, I've got about 20,000 files. And so here's a picture of my kid. Like we went axe throwing. And so I brought a camera and did that. So that kind of stuff sells. Here's me with a neural filter being an old man. That sells. Went on a fishing trip to Alaska last month, and this really remote location. I shot 1 billion photos, and there were about 20 other people staying at the lodge, including my brother and brother-in-law. Everybody there signed a model release allowing me to use that content for commercial use. So that sells. My golden retriever Hudson. So I talked about my golden retriever. I've got Finley now. So Hudson passed. This is my number one best-selling image right here. And so that's sold well over 1,000 times just at Adobe Stock, and it's made a lot of good money. But then this kind of stuff, just general lifestyle, laying around the house, listening to headphones. My mom's got a tiny home. Illustrative editorial content right here. This is one of my best-selling images. We just did a shoot with a person that I met in New York. We walked around the city and just did fun photos. And, some police officers walked by right at this moment and made a really funny comment and made her laugh. And so shooting people and getting out the most engaging, like this is a model that I just hired and did a shoot walking around.
It's a cool tattoo.
Oh yeah, she's awesome model. And my brother's a cop, and so we did this was years ago that we did this shoot, and this photo still sells. There's another shot I did with him where he had a taser and he's holding it right up to the camera. I'm getting right in there and I snapped a picture, and then that little jerk actually zapped me with the taser on my hand. So stock photography can be dangerous, just a heads up on that. But I take pictures of food. I collect Pez dispensers, and so I shoot that for Illustrative editorial, right? I had fun making a little thing with Godzilla. So anyway, that's, there's my portfolio isn't any one thing. I shoot, let's go in, let's just, I don't know what's just happening right there. Let's go into fishing, right? And so that's not a good example. Let's go fish. Just to show you how many pictures of salmon. Well, it's not showing up the way I want it to, but so okay, this is a great example of a photo. This was in 2008. My buddies and I went to Alaska, and this was shot in the middle of the night where it's daytime all night. I actually caught this huge fish, and then
how do you catch a fish like this? It's so impressive. I mean,
awesome
the thing is
fish.
huge.
Yeah, man. But so what's fun is that 10 years after I took this picture, the same guy and I went to Alaska to go on another trip. And in the airport in Anchorage, Alaska, was a life-size standout photo, this photo on this huge thing for a seafood packing company that was there, where you can have your fish like shipped home. It's like we're returning, and there's stock in real, real being used in real, real world example. And I was with that model. I got a fun photo of him next to it, and he's lost a ton of weight, and it was awesome. Like, it's so awesome. That kind of stuff, yeah. I love doing. And so you can stop sharing my screen now, but I shoot what I like to, and then I do formal shoots hiring models, like in New York and in Seattle as well, where I'm from. And we just, but lifestyle content generally sells the best for me. But it's a really wide variety of things that consistently sell. You just never know. No 2 days are the same as far as my sales pattern. So I try to keep a diverse portfolio as much as I possibly can. That was a really long answer to the question. I'm sorry.
It's very cool, though. I mean, I've seen your portfolio before the call. It was really cool. I mean, you shoot all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's hard to believe it's just one guy producing all that content.
It's a long time though, right? Yeah. I don't tell. I do a lot of speaking engagements with stock contributors that are either veterans or they're learning, and I never pretend that it's easy. It's a hard way to make an easy living, right? Photography in general, you have to grind it out. And so my photography business, my actual business, if you go to my Instagram page at Matt Hayward Photo, 1T and Matt, you see I don't have stock content up there. My photography business is really around entertainment and events. I do a lot of celebrity portraits, red carpets, live music, all that, that kind of stuff, film festivals and whatnot. But that's only like part-time. I'm not booked 7 days a week. And so I have downtime. And so when I'm not doing that, I know a lot of wedding photographers that shoot stock. In Seattle, weddings are really busy in the summertime, not so much in the wintertime. So in the wintertime, they pick up their cameras and they shoot content for commercial stock. That still makes money for them, even when they're not shooting stock and they're focusing on their wedding business. Same for me with my entertainment stuff. I shoot entertainment content, but when I have downtime, I shoot commercial stock. And I'm always keywording, I'm always uploading content, as consistently as I possibly can. I mean, I've got a batch of content in the queue as we speak, waiting for review. So, yeah.
Nice.
All right.
I digress.
Okay.
So I'm not asking Matt any more questions. We don't have time.
No, I have 9 more. So, our next question is about copy space. So one creator asks, is it good practice to add photos in 2 versions, one with copy space and one without? Or is it better to not duplicate to avoid rejections?
I don't think that's duplicate if you have a copy space and then the subject or the object in the main focus. I mean, I don't think that's a problem. Yeah, the more diverse, the more usability your shoot has, the better, I think. What do you think, Matt?
I totally agree. I would encourage you to do that. Now, what I would discourage is that you shoot an image with copy space, you process that in Lightroom, Photoshop, whatever you do, and then you upload that, and then you take that same image and then you crop it and upload the same image. Crop. Don't do that. Like, you need to shoot unique, different assets. Any customer can crop that themselves to do that. Same goes for like a black and white conversion. Like, we don't really want black and white content, to be honest. We'll take some of it. Most of it we'll reject. But and the reason for this is you're kind of hurting yourself, really. If you do a black and white conversion to your image and upload that, you're only going to appeal to customers that want the image in black and white. If they want it in color, it is easy to colorize black and white images now with the neural filters in Photoshop.
But it's not.
People aren't going to.
I talk about this all the time. Yeah, in our community, when I talk to photographers, it's way easier to make the image black and white than convert it back to colored. So
yeah, but then but don't also, some people want to get the best of both worlds, and they just take the one image and they convert it and they upload both versions. There's just no value in that. It's kind of spam-like, and so the customer can do that. But to the original question about copy space, it's very important to have content with copy space, as we've already discussed at length here. But B, it needs to be unique asset types. And so turn your camera and shoot here, shoot this, shoot. If you have to write it down in that shot list, like wide angle, use a you know, a 16 to 35 wide angle, then you use a 24 to 70, and then a 70 to 200, and you get all these different looks. Like, cool. That's giving yourself, you're maximizing your opportunity with every potential customer that way. It's a good question.
That's true. Our next question, I think this one's a little bit more about Wirestock. So it's about our portfolio, Eric. So any advice on how to sell from my portfolio on Wirestock?
Well, the only advice I can give is start sharing your portfolio on all the possible social medias and platforms. I mean, you can create a TikTok account and share your showcase your portfolio there, and also shoot vertical. I mean, if you want people to buy, you know, prints from you, or to make them posters or maybe hang them on the wall, shoot vertical. I mean, vertical stuff always makes the best, you know, posters or, you know, stuff to hang on the wall. So yeah, I guess just share and yeah, be more active on socials. Any advice you can give, Matt? I mean, how can you
Just stay busy, consistently upload your content, you know, create content, keep learning, keep evolving, watch for stock. Like I posted that kind of silly image of me. Like, look around, what's trending. You know, we put out creative trends all the time and calls for content in the Adobe Stock Artist Hub. Actually, would you mind if I shared the screenshot of that? Can you share my screen here? So the Artist Hub is stock.adobe.com/pages/Artist Hub. That's a mouthful.
It's in the description, guys, by the way. Yeah.
Boom. And so this is being updated on a regular basis. There's a big team of people, curators, stock stat. We're doing market industry research all the time and coming out with content. So right now you can see like what customers are looking for as far as winter content is concerned. There's quick class series. There's the beliefs and rituals trend right now is a call for content that we're looking for. Mention of our advocates program, but you can go into the learn. Let me click on courses real quick, just because as a narcissist, we've got co-creating with indigenous communities. That's a really interesting course. If you're new to stock completely, I've got a quick class series on, you know, all the basics of being a stock contributor, so you can watch that. You can watch a masterclass series with Southworks. They're fantastic contributors and they work in tandem shooting photos and videos, that's a good tip right there to the original question, is to do that. Flip that switch on the back of your camera that goes from photo to video. My wheelhouse, my comfort zone is photos, but I'm constantly trying to shoot video as well to expand my portfolio and my skill set. It keeps it interesting for me to continue to learn. And so that's, I guess, the number one tip is wherever you're at in your career, however long you've been shooting stock or photos or whatever, is just keep learning, stay busy, treat it like a job. Like if you're going to get out of it what you put into it, it's not a get rich quick scheme, right? And so we've got some artists that submit a couple of pictures here and there, they make a couple of bucks here and there, and they're cool with that. And we've got artists that are very serious about this. They create, you know, they're constantly submitting top level content and they're making huge money by any standards. And so stay busy, stay focused, keep learning. There you go. You can stop sharing my screen and we don't need to look at my face anymore. Oh, great. Here it is again.
And we have just one. Is Eric, did you say everything that you needed to say on that part?
Yeah. Maybe create some cool illustrations, you know. Don't sell I mean, if you're using Wirestock, don't send them to agencies, just have them in your portfolio. Maybe you have some cool, you know, robots, or maybe some cool, I don't know, illustrations of cars, futuristic stuff.
I gotta say, the fact that what you guys do, I think, is a tremendous service, because I spend a lot of time getting my content online, and it's the kind of the ease to get your content up online at Wirestock and then out to all your partners. I think that's a massive advantage. And so I'm fascinated by your business, and I think it makes a ton of sense for creatives. And so I just want to call that out. I meant to do so earlier because as you're describing, it's like, gee whiz, it's a big opportunity for sure. Obviously, Adobe Stock is the best agency you're partnered with. I mean, you don't even have to confirm it.
Certainly one of my favorites, though. Yeah.
You're one of my favorites. That's not a secret.
All right. What's the next question?
All right. So the next question, we got a few actually on this topic. So the question is, I would like clarification on what is and isn't an illustrative editorial, and I want to know why Adobe doesn't accept regular editorials.
Yeah, me too. Oh, wait, let's say that out loud. I would love if we sold editorial content. So the difference between illustrative editorial and editorial, for those that aren't aware, and so I am an editorial photographer. I mentioned I shoot, you know, entertainment events, celebrity portraits, and live carpets and all that stuff. That's for a different agency. We don't take that at Adobe Stock. So the entertainment, news, and sports photography that you typically associate with. So we just don't take that right now. As to why, I can give you a lot of speculation. It's, there's a big marketplace for sure, but our priorities are really on giving the best customer experience as possible for the commercial content that we're selling right now. Will we sell editorial down the road? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I hope so. I think it's a big opportunity, but right now we're really focusing on the customers that we have and giving them the best experience, and so they continue to, build the relationship with them. Illustrative editorial content, to get to that question, I'm sorry, Eric, and you can cut me off anytime, but it's the branded content. It's the content showing those logos and trademark, and it's like specific for that brand, and there are no recognizable people. At Adobe Stock specifically, if there's a recognizable person in content you're submitting as illustrative editorial, it's a hard pass. We're not going to accept that. And so it needs to be focused on the brand. It can't just be kind of a like a shot of a jogger that's anonymous running and they just happen to have that Nike swoosh. Or if I cut the head off of that model that I showed with the Nike swoosh, that's not a Nike illustrative editorial. The brand needs to be the focus of the image. Yeah. And that's another big advantage.
A lot of people are curious though. Sorry, I cut you off there. What if there's two brands, for example, competing brands like Adidas and Nike in the same shot? What happens with that one?
I think it's fine as long as you're captioning it properly.
Yeah.
You need to accurately describe what's in the image, and I think you guys do most of that work for them, right? I'm not 100% familiar. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, but yeah, you'd put the date, you would put the location, and then you'd put what's in it. And so if it was Nike, general view of Nike and Adidas shoe, with fireworks blasting out of the sole, whatever was going on there. Just describe it. You can have multiple brands. That's fine. Like I showed you that picture of my phone that had, a bunch of different
Facebook,
apps
on Instagram,
yeah. So I think there's a market for that for sure. I think it's a good idea to do, but then also, either build that up and shoot as you go, or tear it down and shoot as you go, but give those options. Just shoot that Nike shoe and then just shoot that Adidas shoe and then put them together. Now you've got 3 unique looks.
Okay.
Yeah. And this next one actually is like more of an expansion on this. It's about the background. So one creator asks about illustrative editorial again. So is it better to shoot it against the background of like a specific fixed background, or in a more real life situation? What do you guys think?
Both. Do both. Why not? You get some lights and get some good background. I mean, that it contrasts the main object with the background. I mean, if your object is black, try to get your background white, that kind of thing, and then get some shots in there, like how they've been used in real life. I mean, for example, getting applied to skin if it's a skincare product, or if it's a, running shoes or sports gear. Someone practicing in those, don't get the face though. Try to just get some close-ups, that kind of thing. Matt,
just make
what do you
sure
think?
there's no people, basically.
Yeah, whatever looks the best. I might enhance the product as best you can. If you're able to do both, then do both, and but just whatever works best for the specific scene that you're in is what you should be doing. And that's what's great about being a stock contributor. There's really no rules. You shoot what you want, when you want, how you want, and so what do you think looks best? That's what you should do.
Good answer. So next one is about, it's a little bit of a nosy question. It says, is there a possibility to find out in which contexts your photos are being used, which newspapers, which magazines, social media?
Google.
That's a good question. Yeah, just Google it, I guess. Try to Google the description that we came up with if you use the easy submission feature. But yeah, we are thinking about this a lot, like how to show our creators when it end up, when did it end up, because where did it end up? Because yeah, I know for a fact our creators love just getting famous, seeing their content being showcased on the Forbes, or site or somewhere else. It's a constant communication. But yeah, we're thinking of ways, but as of now, there's not really a way to find it out. Just try googling the description that we came up with for you. Maybe that's the way you can
Yeah,
find it. I
reverse
don't know.
image search.
Yeah.
It is very exciting. It's super fun to see your content in the wild. My golden retriever Hudson, I see every time I go to Costco, they sell this big yellow bag of dog puppy food, and there's Hudson's picture on there, and then the same photo is used on a vacuum cleaner that they sell, like Shark something or other vacuum cleaner has Hudson's picture on it. I love that. I was speaking at a hotel at a photography show for Washington State photographers, and in my hotel room was a Travel Washington book, and on the cover of the book was Hudson. So that was a great visual to show. We're at Adobe Stock. We're not able to provide the customer information just for privacy purposes. And so for those of you that aren't familiar, Adobe Stock 7 years ago Adobe acquired an existing agency called Fotolia. And so that's where I started as a stock contributor at Fotolia. And so when Fotolia first started, we used to provide that information out there. And there were a lot of photographers that were new to selling commercial content. So they would see, oh, Target bought my photo. And then what they would do is they would call the customer and like, hey, I saw that you bought my picture at Fotolia. I'd love to see how you're using it, or what are you doing? Or can I show you my portfolio? Whatever it was. But it became a real source of contention where customers were calling and threatening to close their
Oh,
accounts.
that's annoying.
Very. And so it just, so we can't, it's just unfortunate. It's great to know and see, but yeah, it's just one of those things that we're not able to. I know you have plenty of other partners that you might be able to do something different with, but for us, sorry, just keep your eyes peeled. It's fun. It's a happy surprise.
Yeah.
Our next question is about videos, and it has a little bit of background. So it goes, as a small creator owning his freelance video production business in Eastern Africa, I shoot stock videos on the side as I work on client projects. Can I really make sustainable passive income through selling stock? If yes, do you have any examples of people who have done the same?
I guess Matt can answer this and I'll elaborate.
Yes. I mean, depends on what your, range of, but I mean, really doesn't depend. There's no limit to the potential for earnings. Like there's millions of customers around the world. It's really dependent on the quality of content that you submit, the subject, the actual, what it is that you're shooting, how relevant is it to trending, and how nimble you are as far as capturing and creating new content. And so I know a lot of really successful commercial photographers that do commercial shoots for clients, and then they're able to incorporate those shoots, like do stuff for themselves that's used for stock. They'll work that into their contract. I used to do weddings a million years ago. I couldn't do it again, but I had some clients that couldn't afford my rates. And so I would offer them a discount on the rate if they were willing to sign a model release. And I always explain what that means to be signing a model release. I tell them, you might see your wedding photo on a billboard or in a bridal magazine or, at a bakery or whatever. And every single time they jumped on that and did so. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunity. I can just speak for myself. Like I've made, pretty good income over the years with my stock portfolio. And it's never been my main photography income, but it's always been something that I've needed for, photographers today. It's very challenging. You have to really hustle. You've got to be working, and you've got to have different revenue streams. At least I do. I have different revenue streams coming from different sources. And so no one specific area is providing all of my income, but the aggregate total is how I pay my bills. So yeah, you can do it if you're willing to put the work in.
It's all possible.
Anything's possible. Sky's the limit.
Just have to believe.
Next one's also a video one, and I think we've already kind of answered this, but I'm going to ask it again just to reiterate. Is there a market for short clips? If yes, what is your favorite video content that is short?
Well, I can say my favorite content is first of all vertical content. I mean, when it's quick, it's high octane. You just drone just flies out of nowhere and just showcases the whole area. That kind of things. Time lapses, slow motions, 3D animations are my favorite when they like looping. If you can create a 10-second video and it can seamlessly loop around. So whenever you put it on repeat, it just looks like it's just going and going. So yeah, I actually asked our data analyst to like give me some top selling videos, and it actually turns out that the best selling stuff is around the length of those is around 10 to 20 seconds, and I looked what type of content it is. It's actually some animation and some like high speed drone just flying around over a river, over some kind of, I don't know, isolated area. Well, not forbidden area, just it's deserted area, or like so. Yeah, don't shoot forbidden areas. You might get your drone shot by the militia or something. So yeah, drones are expensive, and yeah, that's
That does
basically.
happen. Make sure you get the shot and then go find the militia that shot it and ask them to sign a model release so that you can at least get a
Yeah.
little money out of that.
Mhm. Yeah, that's my recommendation, I guess. Matt, what do you think? You have anything to add?
Well, all the clips that we sell are short. All right. The range is 5 seconds to 60 seconds. We
Yeah.
found really kind of the sweet spot is between 15 to 25 seconds. And, what I love to shoot versus what sells is not necessarily the same thing for me. I mean, it's just really random. Like I love shooting wildlife. My wife and I went off the island of Maria and we're snorkeling, and humpback whales came up, and I got this really cool footage of these whales coming out with just a little GoPro. And so that's great. But it's only sold a couple of times, right? So what sells the best for me is that lifestyle content with diverse models, jogging towards the camera, or just hanging out, laughing with friends, drinking a glass of wine, that sort of thing sells quite well. So my favorite video content is the video content that sells on a regular basis. How shameless is that?
Yeah.
Terrible. No, don't judge, or do judge, whatever. It's all good. It's the internet. It's where judging was invented.
Yeah.
Okay. And our last question is going to be about captions and keywords. We're going to end on kind of a manual note here. So, half of it is about Wirestock and half of it is general. So, how best do I add caption and keyword information? One creator asks, is it done in the editing software or on your submissions page on Wirestock?
There's tons of ways to add metadata, but actually, I'm gonna cough. Sorry, real bad. Oh, it wasn't bad. Okay, I usually cough like I got tuberculosis or something. Anyway,
Oh, that.
yeah, we take care of the we take care of the metadata ourselves. I mean, you don't have to worrying about the keywords or redundancy of them or spamming. We take care of all that ourselves. But there's actually manual submission as well. I mean, you can take care of all that boring paperwork yourself. You can actually write the keywords. I mean, write the and pick the categories, write the titles and descriptions by yourself, and it's all done in our browser. If it doesn't already have EXIF data or metadata in the file as well in itself, so it's all done in a browser. But yeah, try to come up with interesting, informative descriptions, and try to capture the I don't know, caption the if you shot models, can try to you know give us the feeling that they're having right now, the emotions. If they're feeling depressed, if they're feeling joyful, you should always mention that in your keywords and descriptions. And yeah, of course, write the most important relevant keywords in the first 5 or 10 keywords, and then less relevant one, more like the settings or the background, after the 10 keywords. That's it basically. Matt, do you have any
But
other?
I want to hear more about. So you guys provide a service where your contributors can upload the content with no metadata. They give basic
Mhm,
information if it's a location specific file or something like
mhm.
that. And then you do the dirty work on your end. You're adding all these tags and then you're distributing to agencies. So that's worth the price of admission right there, as far as I'm concerned. I bet I couldn't even speculate how many hours I've spent keywording, and so that's pretty huge. The number one, so keywords are it's the number one most important part of the process for a stock contributor. More important than even the content itself, because if a customer can't find your content, they're not going to be able to buy it. And the way, at least at Adobe Stock, the way most customers are finding the content is through keywords. There's other ways. There's visual search and certain things, filters and so on, but keywords dominate how people find it. And so you need to accurately describe what's in your content in the title and the keywords. And so accuracy is key. Don't go deep into the weeds. And, if it's a picture of a kid shooting a basketball, don't use the keyword apple because it's round like a basketball and hope that you're going to trick a customer into buying it. You're not going to. That really hurts you in the long run, because the customer is not going to click on it and they're not going to buy it. And so it's going to get pushed deeper and deeper into search. And so accurately represent your content. At Adobe Stock, the search engine puts emphasis on the first 10 keywords. The first 10 keywords need to be the most important and the most relevant. That's super important. You can add as many as 49 keywords, as few as 5. Just if you can come up with 49 relevant keywords, then do it. But don't just what's in the photo.
That's impossible, though. I don't think that's really possible. I mean, you're gonna start spamming keywords and being redundant in them. Yeah. I don't really like putting 49 keywords. So
so
I find it really difficult.
For me, I start in the title, and so I describe what's in the photo, right? Bald man wearing glasses, sitting at a computer, talking to camera. Great. And so now there's I'm pulling from the title those keywords: man, bald, glasses, computer.
All the nouns, right? All the nouns gotta be there in the keywords,
And then for people like, okay, I'm Caucasian. I'm not going to disclose my age, but it's old. And so, describe the ethnicity, describe the age, how many people are in there, what's in the photo, what's in the video, describe it. So it's so important, though. My gosh, that's great, though. If Wirestock is doing that, more power to you. I think that's fantastic. And so just make sure that your keywords are accurately representing what's in the content, and that's half the battle right there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. So that was the Q&A portion. I feel like we are even a little bit running over time, but that's okay. I wanted to just thank Matt and Eric for joining today. As we said before, Adobe is one of our most favorite.
Go on. You're just saying that because I'm here.
No, we said that before you came here too.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for joining this. We plan on doing this again. If there are any topic suggestions to our community, be sure to reach out and tell us. And all of the relevant links are in the YouTube description, and this is going up on our channel, so you can subscribe to, stay up to date. So that was our first Wire session. Thank you guys for joining.
I think it went well. No, don't you think? It was all right for the first time.
Let's do it another hour. I'm ready to go. I've got 3 cups of coffee, and we can keep going. Thanks for having me out. It's really a pleasure to speak with you both, and I wish you the most tremendous success with Wirestock, and the partnership with Adobe Stock is really meaningful. So thank you very much.
Thank you too, Matt. It was a pleasure talking to you.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Toodaloo.
Bye. Thanks for watching.